BDSM and non-standard relationships,
power exchange and polyamory,
sacred sexuality and fetishes, as well as simply fun kink.
You're listening to the Erotic Awakening Podcast Network.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first installment of FDM Mystique's Ma'am's Rant. Now, it is getting very close to Valentine's Day, and with that holiday comes the much talked about within our community release of the 50 Shades of Grey movie. So I've decided to put in my 2 cents, even though I've been resisting for close to a year, ever since the book came out, really. So bear with me and realize, like most of the FDM Mystique podcast, this is my point of view. You may not like it, you may not agree with it, and I'm more than happy to hear from your opinion, but otherwise, tough shit. This is Ma'am's land. So let's discuss just really quick. Again, this is a rant, so it's not going to be as long as my full-blown podcast. Let's discuss 50 Shades of Grey. I have 4 main reasons that I do not endorse, agree, or want anything to do with this book or movie. Now, everyone has been asking me, well, are you going to go see it? Are you going to, go see it? Have you read the book? And I will stand firm and say, no, I'm not going to read the book. I never will. And I'm never going to see the movie. And if anybody brings it into my dungeon or brings it into my house, they're going to get punched in the face. Hopefully consensually, probably a little extreme, probably not going to get punched in the face, but that's how strong I feel about this thing. I'm going to go over my main points of view that I do not agree with this at all. And you will find that they are a wide variety of reasons. The first reason that I do not agree with the 50 Shades of Grey is from a professional writer's point of view. As a professional writer, I find this book atrocious. Grammatically, it is one of the worst books I have ever picked up. You turn to any page and you will find at least 2 to 3, if not more, spelling, grammatical errors. Spelling and or grammatical errors, because I should probably be correct myself. I can't read this book. It is written on such a low level, I do not understand its popularity. It's great for a light read for those who want to read it, and I'm not insulting anyone's intelligence who has read it, all right? It's your own choice. But my choice is I'd rather read something that is well written than in something that reads like a kindergarten manual. I don't find that entertaining at all. I find that insulting to my intelligence. My question when I look at this book and I turn to any page, and I have picked up the book and I have opened it, people have given it to me and said, well, here, just read it and, read a page and see what you think, is where was the editor? What was the editor thinking when they just passed this through and did not correct the errors that are within this book? So that's my first rant. It's poorly written. It's kindergarten level, and the writer should be ashamed of it. I'm sorry. On top of that, in regards to the authors and the erotica of the book, I am insulted for my fellow BDSM fiction erotica writers. This woman got lucky. And that's great. Life is all about luck. Life is all about taking your open doors, walking through those chances when you get to them, making your own luck, working hard. I understand that. But there are so many people out there that have struggled for so many years in the BDSM erotica field and not gotten any amount of recognition that this is an insult to me. And I'm not even a fiction writer. I'm a nonfiction writer. I have been asked to write some fiction, so there will be some upcoming femdom erotica. There's not a lot of it on the market, and I have had some requests for it, so I am going to try my hand at some femdom erotica. But I know quite a few wonderful writers who write BDSM erotica from both the points of male master, female submissive, um, bi, queer, gender fucks, all kinds of wonderful erotica. And they have struggled for so long to even make their bills. And then this woman comes along and by who you know and what you do, bam. And I just think that's a little bit shameful, especially when these writers are so good. So as a nod to that, I'm going to recommend some excellent BDSM erotica that will fulfill those senses and titillate and is also well written. The first one I want to recommend is Cleese Press, and the author is Cecilia Tan. And all of her writing is well done, it is grammatically correct, and it is imaginative. So go ahead and give Cleese Press, that's Cleis, a nod and take a look at some of her writing. She also does anthologies for other authors in the BDSM arena. Then you also have Grey Dancer. And if you want excellent male top, female bottom BDSM fiction, this with a rope slant, this would be up your kink. He can be found at greydancer.com. And I love his stories. He does a lot of cigar play and a lot of rope play, which are two of my kinks. So I suggest you take a look at greydancer.com. And the last one, I highly, highly recommend if you enjoyed the concept of 50 Shades of Grey and you liked the male dom, female submissive dynamic, and you want to know what it is in actual real life, but in a fictionalized concept, meaning that the story is fiction based on real life, pick up a Master of O by Ernest Green. He's married to Nina Hartley, and you can find him on Twitter under Master of O, or just look up Ernest Green. And it is so well written and so true to life that anything that you felt was missing out of 50 Shades of Grey, this book will fulfill. So those are my nods to some of the erotica authors out there that are actually kinky in the community and have struggled for years to get good fiction out there. Take a peek at some of their writing. Now, on to the next reason. I said I had, 4 reasons. So we've had horror writing, we've had the other authors that have been struggling. So that was 1, 2. This book portrays our lifestyle as abusive. For those who don't know about it, it's basically a very rich, wealthy gentleman named Christian Grey. Let's not discuss the names in this book anyway. Christian Grey, Anastasia Steele. Oh, we are very original here. He's an amazing hair, blazing eyes, charisma, dripping sexuality, and an extreme control freak. Anastasia Steele is this young lady, not very experienced, and she's basically seeking a vanilla relationship. Throughout the novel, and I have done research on this, even though I'm not going to read the novel, there's non-consent after non-consent after non-consent. Okay? Threat of pain as a punishment, not something that I would say is very consenting in our lifestyle. We do use punishment in our lifestyle, but it is consented, it is agreed upon, it is structured, and the person does know why they are being punished, and once the punishment is done, it's over. There's not a constant threat of pain and torture if you don't do what I say. So I have a problem with the fact that this relationship is abusive. And it portrays our lifestyle as twisted and sick. And he's not a very well-balanced person. And that just sends up all kinds of typical traditional anti-BDSM messages about who we are. I'm a 50-something housewife who's been a pro-dom for 21 years, and I'm a middle-class person who came from a wonderful background. I had great parents. I was never abused. And that's not saying that abuse doesn't happen in our lifestyle, because it does. But to use that as an excuse for him being the way he is just perpetuating the fact that kinksters are all abused and fucked in the head. I have a problem with the fact that this highly publicized movie and book portrays our community and our lifestyle as a result of abuse. I also don't like the situation between the two. It's not a consensual relationship. Our community bases it on power exchange. And yes, there's a power dynamic in all relationships. Usually one person has a little bit more power in certain situations, but it's an equality-based exchange. I'm the mistress, you're the slave. I give you my energy, you give it back in a different way. You have service, I give you pain and pleasure. You give me pleasure. So it's not a one-sided relationship as portrayed in this book and this movie. There is an interaction and an exchange, and it's all negotiated. So that is my main problem with this movie. Again, this is a short rant, so I'm not going to go into long psychological rants about further details. But just know, in my opinion, it portrays an abusive BDSM relationship, and I think that's an affront, especially when this woman has made so much money off of our book, or off of our lifestyle with her book, and Hollywood has as well. The last one is a female-specific reason I do not like 50 Shades of Grey, and primarily the movie. I have watched trailer after trailer after trailer, and because that's about as far as I'm going to get with this movie, every trailer I have seen, Anastasia Steele is an insipid, vapid, no-brain idiot. If I was a female submissive, I would be highly insulted. I'm insulted as a female in this lifestyle. To be a submissive, whether it is a male submissive or a female submissive, takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of trust and faith to put yourself into someone else's hands and let them control you, whether it be what they want to eat, which let's not talk about the 50 Shades of Grey ripoff of Secretary and the food scene, okay? Whether it's orgasm control, how you dress, whipping you, caning you, putting a gag in your mouth, tying you up and putting up electrodes to you, whatever the fetish that we choose is, the submissive has to give a huge amount of trust. Now, I'm not saying the doms don't. That's for another rant. But for this movie to portray a submissive, especially a female submissive, as a weak-willed idiot is an insult to all females, but especially those that are female submissives. I would say about 10 years ago. Yep, probably about 10 years ago. I did a panel at University of Chicago with a dear friend of mine, and she was a female submissive, and we did a BDSM panel for a women's group at University of Chicago. And I thought that once we were going in, we had a conversation beforehand, her and I, about what we would talk and how we would work. And we had thought that when we would go into the women's group, it was women's studies, that I would be the one who would come under attack because of my profession and being a professional dom. Well, believe it or not, the women's group had no problem with that. They understood that. They had problems with her submitting to a male and letting him beat her because they couldn't wrap their head around the fact that it wasn't abuse because it was consensual. And she enjoyed the exchange and she enjoyed the pain. And she came under attack for giving up her control to a man. So most of our conversation at the University of Chicago panel was about how this is a power exchange, and she agrees to this submission, and she's a very strong woman outside of their relationship and actually inside their relationship as well, because it takes a lot of strength to do this. But this was her release from that day-to-day strain, and she was able to give the control over to him, and he was able to help her relax and let her become who she truly was inside and who she felt that she needed to be, and a balanced person. This is not portrayed in 50 Shades of Grey. She is portrayed as an idiot, and I have a problem with that. I would have preferred if this book and movie had actually given some credit to the female submissive choosing to submit and working on the power exchange and dynamic of DS between the couple. I'm ashamed that this movie has come out and it portrays females as so weak and female submissives as something to be trodden upon. If I was this female submissive, I would be extremely affronted and insulted. And as a female dom, I stand up and say, no, my submissives are strong, regardless of gender. They have to have strength to submit to me. They have to have strength of character. They have to have intelligence. And for you to portray them as such is an insult to not only those of us who are on the dominant end, but especially to those who are on submissive ends. So those are my issues with this movie and book in a short rant. I do hope that those who decide to go see it and who have enjoyed it do so. Feel free, enjoy it. I will be protesting it. I will be removing myself from it. And this is a dominatrix and a lifestyle mistress's view on the garbage of 50 Shades of Grey. If you don't like my opinion, please do give me an email at chicagomistress@gmail.com, or feel free to follow me on Twitter at Chicago Mistress, or follow me on Instagram. I can also be found on my website, www.chicago-mistress.com, and my emails are all listed there. I would love to hear some of your opinions, especially after Valentine's Day and you've seen the movie. Me, I'll be the one in jeans and t-shirt outside with my group of friends protesting. Again, this was Mam's Rant. Have a happy Valentine's Day.